Fellas, it's been a long time since we've had a podcast or a live stream at all. Couple reasons. We won't get into depth, but life gets in the way sometimes. We knew this was going to happen, but we moved our original podcast and recording and streaming date. We're going to do it Sunday nights now. Kind of go back to where we started. Sundays are, the Lord's Day, obviously, and then all the other things. Usually, you're kind of relaxing on Sundays and you don't have much to do. So we're rolling through and going ahead and putting it done on Sunday nights now. So you can look out for us on Sunday nights from now on to talk some sports. A lot of things have happened since we've been on last. We haven't had a stream since before the Super Bowl. It's been almost 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks actually. But we're here today. As always, I'm Frank. I'm your host. I'm here with Coop and David. We got a lot of catching up to do. A lot of talking about some things. If you guys want to hear our opinions on certain topics that have happened since the Super Bowl in any brand of sports, drop us some comments in the chat. We will include you in our conversations as well. As always, we appreciate all the feedback and all the participation we get from our viewers on YouTube and Facebook. If you haven't subscribed already to our YouTube channel, please do so now. We've been trying to get 100 followers or 100 subscribers for like a year and a half. It just ain't happened yet. We're like 4 away. So
year and a half. We're a year in.
We haven't hit a year yet.
I feel like it's been a year and a half. But if you guys are on YouTube and want to follow us and subscribe to us, we would appreciate it. We just need 4 of you to do it, and then we hit our goal of 100, and then we can set a new goal of 200. So, moving on, David, I'm gonna let you kick off today's show. David is a humongous hockey fan. He's a bigger hockey fan than me and Coop both. He's actually the guy that got us into hockey. But we're gonna kick off the show with David's hockey analysis. He also spends a lot of time with the St. Louis Blues. Lives super close to St. Louis, so spends a lot of time down there and watches some hockey games. Was there this weekend with his family watching hockey. Got a few Snapchats. Sat right behind the bench. It's pretty awesome. How was that like, David? And anything hockey wise that you can throw out there to people that might be wanting to watch hockey or don't know anything about hockey? What would make them want to watch hockey?
Yeah. So, first off, huge shout out to my Uncle Eric. Even though he's a big Pittsburgh Penguins guy, he graced us with some amazing seats yesterday. If you all happen to tune in, we were literally right behind the Blues bench. Absolutely phenomenal. It was a great game. Blues lost in overtime. Pretty upset about that. Blues are openly tanking right now, as I would call it. They traded Tarasenko a few weeks ago, Ryan O'Reilly last week, and then unfortunately today they traded my favorite Russian, Ivan Barbashev, away. So it was really unfortunate. It went to overtime. For all you new hockey listeners, a win gets you 2 points. An overtime loss gets you 1 point. And then if you lose in regulation, you get no points. And basically it just goes off of the point system for the playoffs. So the Blues are just stacking up first-round picks that are all be in the late 20s because they're trading all their guys to really good teams. And yet we're still getting overtime losses. So not really great. I'd really prefer a top draft pick in the first, but, it is what it is. That said, though, hockey is heating up right now. I think the Boston Bruins have won like 7 in a row. They have been a menace for years. Patrice Bergeron came back. I think it's like his 20th year, and they are just an absolute wagon. The New York Rangers, who traded for Tarasenko, they are also in the East, and they have decided to put all their chips all in. And then the big one, also involving the Blues, is the famed Toronto Maple Leafs. If anybody's kind of followed hockey the past couple years, you know that they're basically, what's the comparison? Probably like the Chicago Cubs. They are on a Stanley Cup drought. And they arguably have one of the best players in the league in Austin Matthews. And then, of course, they just went and traded for Ryan O'Reilly, who is the best defensive center in the game. So, hockey's heating up. It's about a couple months left until the playoffs. But if you all are looking for something, to get into, I'd highly advise it. There's nothing like hockey. They let them fight. There's nothing better than a good scrum.
One thing that I learned watching hockey is playoff hockey is at another level. The energy is so good. It's one of the more entertaining things I've watched. And I know most of the rules of hockey, and I can kind of follow it and understand why things are called and what things are penalties, what the rules are. I learned it playing the NHL hockey game on the PlayStation. Played it for a few weeks and I loved it. That's one sport that I really wish I could have played in high school. I think it'd have been really fun. But one thing that David forgot to mention, another big storyline in hockey, is Alex Ovechkin, which for the most part, if you're a sports fan and you watch SportsCenter at all, you're going to hear that name being brought up. Is it? Am I correct on this? He's like, bearing down the career goals record right now, or has he just hit a milestone?
He's chasing Gretzky.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He's chasing Gretzky. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I know he was in the news because his father passed away, so he's not been with the team for longer. And I think he just got back. So
yeah, that's been a big. I see that a lot on SportsCenter. Is they're talking about Ovechkin and his elderly age. He's very gray, still killing it in the league. Been doing that for years. So that's one of the bigger names in hockey is Ovechkin, and what he's doing right now at an old age is similar to LeBron James, just killing it in the NBA at the old age as well. But yeah, if you're into watching something new, learning something new, playoff hockey is different. I love watching it. We all picked teams last year. Obviously, Dave's team is the Blues. Coop picked the Minnesota Wild. I picked based on geography. I said biology. That doesn't make any sense. I picked based on geography, and we tagged along with the Nashville Predators, who got swept in the first round last year. Couldn't tell you what the record is. Also, couldn't tell you one player on their team. So that's how much I follow hockey. But I'll watch any kind of hockey game. It's fun. I really do like it. I would love to get together and go watch a hockey game one day.
Yeah, we've talked about that. The biggest thing with hockey for me is the speed of the game. Mm-hmm. There's not a faster game out there. You can't watch one with more action and less time than hockey. Like, it is nonstop. And any second, like, you can literally, it's a long shot, but they can score a goal from anywhere on the ice at any time. Mm-hmm. You don't get that in other games. You're not kicking a full field soccer goal. You're not, you can throw a 99-yard touchdown pass, but they're rare. I just think that the action that happens the full length of the rink and the speed at which it happens with, it took me probably 5 games to even find the puck to be able to follow it. Like, it's so fast. But I agree. I've followed it much closer this year. My Wild are in pretty good shape, 5th place in the West right now. I think they got a pretty good shot at the playoffs. Creel the Thrill hat trick today in a nice win. So hoping that I have somebody to root for come playoff time.
Yeah, for sure. Again, we're closing out the hockey segment of the show. Give it a shot. You don't even know what you want and what you like until you see it. I didn't watch much soccer until the World Cup, and then I kind of watched every game I could. I'd have it on my computer at work while I was working. Just kind of have it on the background, listening to it. Especially when the Cats were playing. That's what I was going to say. Especially when the USA was playing. I was paying close attention to it. So, if you're a sports fan at all, you need to broaden your horizons and see what else is out there, because there's a lot of popular sports going on that not a lot of people know about, and not a lot of people put a lot of effort into watching. So hockey is one that I think a lot of more people would like if they gave it a shot. A couple more things. Baseball season's ramping up. I know we have a lot of baseball fans that watch our shows. Some of our best performing videos from old podcasts were actually talking about baseball stuff. We started this podcast back when the lockout was a thing, and that was making all the headlines. So a lot of our best performing videos were us talking about the lockout and kind of what the collective bargaining agreements were and what were the stipulations that we had going on. But now the biggest thing in the news of baseball is the different rules changes. And we'll talk about that for a minute. I want to try to pull them up. Me and Dave are baseball guys. We both played high school baseball. Still watch baseball religiously. I'm a high school baseball coach. So these things are I don't know what to think about them. Basically, we're going to go through the rules and kind of talk about which ones they are and what our opinions are of them.
Well, I think the first one, first two are the easiest because they have been the most dramatic and apparent in spring training games. I believe it was yesterday we had the walk-off tie. A guy just got ball 4, should have been a bases loaded walk to, walk it off, hold the front door. He wasn't in the box within 8 seconds or whatever. Strike 3 was called. So the game ended in a 7-7 tie. I believe it was the Red Sox and
Braves.
Yep. So,
that's happening in college too. They're having pitch clock in college as well.
I don't understand. How does the pitch get thrown? If he's not in the box at the 8-second mark, the pitch shouldn't have got thrown. You know what I mean? It should have stopped sooner.
Well,
what happens is if they're not in the box at that time, they get a strike called on them.
Right, but he wasn't in the box. The pitch still got thrown for a ball, and then they called him for the violations from what I saw.
And that's what I wonder if it's like the eye in the sky type deal. If nobody on the field is actually calling it and it's somebody radioed down like, hey, he wasn't in.
It has to be. That's what it has to. Because they have automatic, striking balls called too. Mm-hmm. They've experimented with that. And now we have somebody else upstairs watching these types of things like they don't have anything better to do. And I read something today on Twitter that said, here it is again on the website. I'm on MLB.com. The pitch timer helped reduce game length by 25 minutes in the minors in 2022. 25 minutes. We're thinking, let's speed the game up for 25 more minutes. Like that's
significant.
Nothing.
No, that's significant.
25 minutes in a baseball game is not significant.
When you're talking about for viewership, if the difference is a 3-hour game or a 3.5.
Here's the thing about viewership too, and it's what pisses me off. 75% of the games are blacked out. You can't even watch them.
Yeah.
Like even
in stadium, if I got a kid, 3.5 hours makes a big difference from 3 hours. And you know that. I mean,
I don't know. There's a lot of things you can do for 25 minutes that you're not even thinking about it.
And that's where minor league's different than the majors. I'm not sure how many Legends games you guys have went to, but that is, it's a step above college. Like
it's a close step above college too.
Right. It's so different than the majors. I mean, major leagues, you got the mascots running around. You got middle of the inning entertainment going on. You have so much other than a baseball game going on. Looking at it from an owner's perspective, the Padres just paid Manny Machado $350 million for 11
years.
They want you in those seats for 25 extra minutes.
Yeah.
That's 25 extra minutes before they have to stop serving beer.
They can get $30 more out of you for 2 beers.
Yeah, it's an entertainment thing for them. It is. They don't care how long the game is. Like Frank said, who's going to sit down and watch a game? People that are actually invested. Do you think the people who are actually invested care if it's 25 minutes longer or not? You're not. I mean, they might.
Especially if it's a good baseball game, like good close baseball games. We talk about playoff hockey being exciting. Playoff baseball is exciting as well. I mean, it's a step above regular season baseball. I understand how hard it is for certain people to sit down and actually watch, an MLB game from start to finish. But for the most part, I don't do that. I'll turn it on here and there and I'll watch it. But it's kind of playing in the background. I'm not sitting and watching it avidly because it does take forever.
Oh, yeah. It's baseball.
The difference is you guys are talking about the viewers they have. And what the MLB is trying to target is the viewers they don't, especially young kids, because games go so late. That was a complaint last year, right? Not just the start times, but they can't stay up to finish them. They're not watching the whole World Series. And
when you have a first pitch of 8:30 Central Time, that's just ridiculous.
Right. That's poor scheduling. I agree with that. But a standard game that first pitch is at 7:00 Eastern, like when you got kids you're talking about, like it's a school night. 10 o'clock's a hard time. Like, you got to go to bed by 10. You got school tomorrow.
My kids are in bed right now.
And if that game goes from ending at 10:30 to 10, you just gained a viewer that finished that game. You gained a new fan to baseball. I'm not saying I agree with the pitch clock. I think it's going to take a lot more adjustment. It's going to be ugly. But that's why they're trying to do it. It's not because of the fans they have, because baseball fans aren't going anywhere. It's trying to get more fans that complain the game is too long.
And here's another thing with the pitch timer, and there's a couple other bullet points here that hit on the strategy of the game, like it changes it. And we'll talk. And another thing is the shift, and we'll talk about that in a minute too. I don't care about the shift; it doesn't bother me that much, but this does bother me. Hitter gets 1 timeout per plate appearance, and must be in the batter's box with at least 8 seconds left. Another bullet point says pitchers get 2 disengagements, which could be pickoff attempts or step-offs per batter. Any violations are a balk. So
balk is big, yeah.
That's stupid.
That's big. Because
if you pick off twice over there, the runner knows that you cannot do it again. So he can get as big of a lead as he wants to.
Yeah, that's true.
And you can't pick him off. Like, you have to throw the pitch. He could start walking to second base after that second pickoff attempt. That changes the game.
Yeah, they have to that there has to be a loophole in there.
There's not. I'm reading from MLB.com. Per batter, they have 2 disengagements from the rubber. They can't even step off to fix their belt.
It's not like no more than 2 consecutive.
No, it says 2 per batter.
Yeah,
I mean, then after the second pickoff, I mean, all you do is
as soon as he comes set, take off walking. Like, you could just
no, you don't even need to do that. As soon as his foot's on the rubber, just go. He can't step off.
That's the dumbest rule. The pitch clock doesn't bother me as much as that does, because that's part of the game. Like,
I agree 100%.
Don't let him lead off.
But in the same line of thinking that I was just talking about, you're going to cut your pickoff attempts down tremendously. That's less no plays during the game. You get what I'm saying?
I'm just putting myself in a player and coach perspective, not a fan.
Yeah, 100%.
Player and coach.
I can't imagine out of a game. You probably cut a minute off that game for a pickoff attempt.
But
it does increase the steals. It does increase putting runners in scoring position, and it increases all that stuff.
I'm just talking about the
this
time.
This is the equivalent of letting, if somebody puts their hands up during a free throw more than once, you get an extra free throw. It's like making the hoop bigger.
That doesn't cost time.
No,
but there's a clock. There is a clock in basketball. There's a clock in football. That's the beauty of baseball. You have to get 27 outs to win. There is no, you can't win sooner. You can't win. You can win later, but you can't win sooner. That's why it was made.
I'm not for it. You're misunderstanding me. I'm not saying it's a good rule. I'm saying that's the line of thinking that MLB is on right now.
Right. But in my counter to that is, I get faster games, do things, pitch clock, hitter clock, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But why are you then making bases bigger and reducing pickoff attempts? Because you are now promoting offense, where defense is going to make the games faster. So it's counterintuitive there. I mean,
get people that can just keep running and scoring runs, the game's going to last just as long.
Yeah, probably longer.
I can't wait.
Unless they dead in the ball again.
I'm so mad. But the clocks are different. With runners on, you get 20 seconds. With bases empty, you get 15. So you can check the runner for an extra 5 seconds and think about throwing over once or twice, but not 3 times. Anyway, moving on to the next rule change is the shift restrictions. Those are 2 infielders must be positioned on either side of second base when the pitch is released. All 4 infielders must have both feet within the infield when the pitcher is on the rubber, meaning they have to have their feet on the dirt. They cannot be in the grass at all. Shift restrictions increase.
What if it's turf?
In the brown part, Dave. Shift restrictions. There's a line that designates both. I remember the old, was it the Expos played?
The Expos.
Yeah. Big Astro. Looks like concrete out there. Shift restrictions increase batting average and decrease strikeouts in minors while giving players more opportunity to show off their athleticism. See how they kind of throw that in there and make it sound good? Now, I don't hate this.
It doesn't sound good.
I don't hate this rule, but people are going to abuse it. What they're going to do is they're going to have 2 really athletic outfielders play right center, and left center, and range rover that third one to wherever they want to go.
Well, yeah.
So now they're still technically, like, if they want to put a shift on a lefty, they'll just move that out, and they'll move the second baseman right as close as they can to second base. They'll shift that outfielder all the way over right behind second base, or where the second baseman's position is. That's what they're going to do. It ain't no different. So now you take away the hit up the middle and the pull. And you can't hit it the other way either if you wanted to, because shortstop and third baseman's there. They're not moving either. You pop it up, it's an out because you got the most athletic people in the world playing the outfield for you.
And
you hit it down the line, you got a triple, but
that's where I just think it's just eyewash. This is where the league locked out the players. I think people need to remember that. This was not a strike. This was a lockout. The players were locked out from the facilities. So this is the league trying to save face, in my opinion, trying to show the fans, oh, we're doing all of this stuff for you. Where, I mean, it might work in minor league games, but nobody watches that. I mean, yeah, you'll go to a minor league game because it's a good family outing. It's always a good time to have a beer at a ball game. Never a bad time to have a beer at a ball game. But we're talking about the major leagues. You're talking about guys getting paid $45 million a year. And then you're going to tell Bryce Harper, you can't take 9 seconds to get in the box. Has to be 8. And then little Johnny's going to see Bryce Harper strike out on a technicality when his family paid $90 a ticket to see Bryce Harper hit. That's what I fear is going to ruin the game. Because I have a hard time seeing Bryce Harper really, really being worried about being in that box within 8 seconds. He's already got his money.
Yeah. So, other than the shift, which I don't like, hate the rule. I mean, it's going to cause more people to have higher batting averages, in my opinion, unless they do what I said they were going to do. Last rule change, which is one of the bigger ones, no pun intended, is the bigger bases. So first, second, and third base has increased from 15 square inches to 18 square inches, so an increase of 3 square inches there. Bigger bases are expected to have a positive impact on player safety. Distance has been reduced by 3 inches from home to first, home to third, reduced by 4.5 inches from first to second and second to third. So the distances between bases, it has changed. It's no longer 90 feet.
This is stupid too.
That could have easily remained at 90 feet.
Yeah, all they had to do is move the bases back to where the first part of the base is 90 feet away. So you're from first to from home to first, it's 3 inches. It's basically 87 inches now, and then it's 4.5 inches from first to second. That's how much it decreased.
That's extremely significant, especially without a pickoff, because there's so many tag plays on steals, mostly second, but also at third, that are inch plays, and giving 4.5 inches to the runner is a major advantage.
Yes,
and they wear the muffin
sliding mitts that give him a 3 inch. They give him an extra hand. The oven mitts. Justin says, "What the hell's wrong with the game before the rule changes?" Here's the thing, Justin. We've talked about this before on our previous podcasts. The game has nothing wrong with it. The marketable and money-making potential is what they have a problem with. If they can see a way to make more money and increase whatever it is that they think is going to help them make more money, that's what they're going to do. If they want to make more money, what they can do is put more games on television. That's my opinion.
I think we've said this, baseball's been behind, right? We talked about it with the contract situations, like the way that the disparity that you have between teams and their total salaries and the contracts that people are getting, the links and the dollar amounts, it's uncapped. It's not like that in other sports, right? You have your limits. I know in basketball for sure you have individual contract limits. In football, I don't necessarily think that you do, but it hasn't been that big of an issue yet. It seems like Lamar is kind of starting that now with wanting more money than anybody's willing to pay.
It's going to be,
but the game has been behind.
Battle from there.
There's been changes in basketball. to do exactly what they're doing in baseball, to speed the game up, to make it offense. They have a clock at the free throw line now. You have to shoot the ball in 10 seconds. They put all the rules in football, extra pass interference and all of the quarterback safety and all of that is for the same purpose, to speed the game up and put more offense out there. That's what's happening in baseball. We just don't like it because baseball has been so stubborn to change. And I'm not saying it's for the betterment of the game, but it's going to bring more fans in. There's going to be more runs. There's going to be potentially shorter games when there aren't as many runs scored. There's going to be better stats. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to target young, analytical people that like the numbers and the speed of the game.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say about MLB baseball is I'm not sure if y'all have followed the story, but the group that ended up buying all of the regional Fox Sports channels, it's now Bally Sports. Here it's Bally Sports.
They went bankrupt.
Well, I don't think they've gone bankrupt yet, but I
That's
read
who
an
does the
article the
Reds
other
games.
day. They have missed their first payment to the MLB for their MLB contract. So that is significant, though, because now the clock has started. If they don't make an interest-only payment of like $45 million in the next 30 days.
That's just the interest?
That's just the interest.
Jesus
they got the
Christ.
$10 billion contract, and they loaned $8 billion of it. Like, these people are, I don't know who funded it, but bad on them. So they have 30 days to pay this payment, or else teams can start backing out. And Manfred has already said that if they go bankrupt, it basically opens the door for MLB to start streaming or open up their games to other broadcast network partners, and they're going to end blackouts. He said it in his interview. So
that'd be awesome. I'd love that.
Exactly.
Have like an NFL Sunday ticket, but for baseball.
Right.
You could pay $300 a year or something and watch as much baseball as you want. I would do that.
Yeah. So, that is significant. I think this is more, to get more fans, you need to make it accessible to them. And I think this is more important than any of the rule changes that we've talked about here today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm lucky enough to be a Reds fan, but like if let's say I was,
I don't know about that.
That's true. I'm lucky enough to be able to watch the Reds whenever I want. Let's put it that way.
There you
go. Growing up, that's the reason why most people in Kentucky were a Reds fan based off of geography. That's who your parents liked, so that's who you liked. That's kind of my situation. You were either a Braves fan because it was on TBS all the time, or you were a Cubs or a White Sox fan because it was on WGN. Y'all remember that? Watching that?
Oh yeah.
That was all the teams you could watch on cable. That was before everybody had satellite dishes and Dish Network and DirecTV. It's when you had the little coax cable you plugged into your TV from the wall that had to screw in the back of your television.
Frank, you're losing everybody born after 2000. Stop talking about that
dinosaur stuff. There's not many. We don't have very many people born after 2000 watching our show. Let's just put it that way. We're probably the youngest people involved in this situation. I'm not gonna lie. Justin says that home runs put asses in seats, let them juice. I'm okay with that too. That's when I had this conversation. Justin knows what we're talking about. We watch the Braves all the time. I had this conversation with one of my assistant coaches the other day that, the Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa years, those were the years that saved baseball simply because of the entertainment factor. Everybody knew they were on steroids. Everybody knew that. It wasn't even a secret, but it was the most entertaining baseball there was because they were just hitting 700-foot home runs. They walked out of the dugouts looking like superheroes. Is it healthy? Absolutely not. But was it cool to watch? Yeah, it was. It's like professional wrestling. People watch that because it's fun. Those guys are jacked most of the time. They have performance-enhancing drugs as well because it's entertaining to see. Is it bad for their health? Absolutely. But is it something that possibly an alternative baseball organization comes out, like Live Golf, and let's say that they have a competitive market and play things a little differently? Do you guys watch the Savannah Bananas? Do you guys know who that is?
Oh,
yeah.
I love watching the Savannah Bananas. Shout out to our homeboy Dalton Cornett, plays for the Party Animals. Kentucky kid, not County Central, Alice Lloyd College. That's some of the most entertaining things I've ever seen in my life. And I'm a traditional baseball fan, and a lot of traditionalists don't like it because they dance in between innings. They do walk-up songs. Some of them sing their own walk-up songs. But
They
that's
bring
what,
the 70-year-old pitcher out of the stands drinking
yeah,
beer.
like
to throw a
Johnny Damon
strikeout.
played for him the other day. Johnny Damon, you know, they have so much good things going on for him that it's entertaining to watch. Like, you never know what's going to happen next. It's a party. It's a literal baseball party, and there's legitimately competitive baseball going on. Like, those guys are freaking good. They're former pros. They're, right out of college, undrafted guys that are trying to make a name for themselves. They're not affiliated with anything, but they're going on world tours, selling out every single game they play. They're selling them out. Like, hundreds of, I wouldn't say hundreds of thousands, but tens of thousands of people go and watch them play in a little stadium in Savannah all the time. I was headed down to Savannah one time. I tried to get tickets. They were sold out for 3 months straight. Like, I was 3 months away, and they were sold out of every game. But I don't know.
And that's where my head goes of, yeah, like, agreed. We went to Savannah last year to go visit some of Kelsey's family. We wanted to go watch a game. It wasn't in season, or they were down in Alabama or something. But it's like, if I went to a Savannah Bananas game, I would be mad if it was a 90-minute deal.
I want it to be 3 hours long.
Yeah, like I want to be.
Yeah, but not 3.5.
It's like a George Lucas film. You want to sit there as long as you can,
right,
and soak it all in. Y'all watch Avatar. That shit's long.
And I think that's just
if it's good, they'll sit and watch it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I love baseball. It's my favorite sport there is, and I just want it to be entertaining. And all the rules changes.
It is entertaining.
It's entertaining, but
you just gotta respect the.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
It's a great word, Dave, because there's no respect doesn't exist anymore, and that's the problem.
You're right. Anyway, anything else in the wide world of sports that we've not talked about, or think we should? Do you guys have? We've not scripted any of this, by the way, so this is all off go. Do you guys have anything else that you want to bring up right now to talk about?
I have something for Coop here. QB Davis, from the national championship to a big bubble. What is the
shout out John Calipari?
What is the current state in your head?
I have zero concerns with Hubert Davis. I think there's a good chance we might make the tournament this year. It happens. Rory missed the tournament. Dean missed the tournament. I think you need a coach at a program school, which Carolina is. It's 4 years before you make a decision. Let him get the kids he wants to recruit in through his program and see what it turns into. We made the national championship last year as an 8 seed. Shouldn't have been there. We weren't that good. We were 500 in the 2 years before Roy Williams. Carolina's down. Like, yeah, we played in the title game. We've had 4. This is our 4th not good season in a row with a coaching change in the middle. I honestly don't think we should be in the tournament. We're extremely inconsistent. We'll lose to Pittsburgh at home and then beat the number 6 team in the country. Like, we've got the fan base, so we'll probably win out over somebody with a better resume if we're still in the conversation. But I don't think there's any way this is a Sweet 16 team if they make it. It's just not the right year. Our guards, I don't like them. I hate Caleb Love.
I think everybody does.
I hate him.
On the other hand, we talked about Carolina basketball. We can talk about Kentucky basketball for a minute. How many people out there are kind of swallowing their words about talking about John Calipari and how bad of a coach he is right now?
99%.
Oh, I mean, I've seen people admit it on Facebook. Like, they're like, all right, maybe I was wrong. And I sat here and defended them forever, and people hated me for it. My brother hated me for it. He's like, do you really think they should keep him? Yeah, I mean, he's a Hall of Fame coach. He's going to get it figured out.
What did he do? You know what changed? He benched the system players.
Yeah.
And he brought the stars in to let them play their game.
He didn't bench them. He got lucky they got hurt.
They got hurt, which it helps him at the same time. But also, their minutes when they were playing have been restricted heavily.
And I'm not saying they're not great players. They could both start on national championship teams.
Justin, you can still hate them. I don't care.
but it
Dude's
doesn't
good
work
at his
here.
job.
I still stand by what I said. I look at this at he's in the same class as K, Roy Williams,
Izzo,
Jay. Oh, what's the Villanova guy?
Jay Wright.
Jay
Jay
Wright. I think the times have passed him by. He can still coach basketball. Don't get me wrong. But the way he used to do it is not going to resonate with this younger generation. It's going to take longer, which is proven. So I wouldn't be surprised if, he has that amazing class coming in next year. Might be his, one shining moment, farewell tour, could be, I don't know. But I just don't see him sticking around too much longer with the current state of the game.
Yeah, that makes sense. I agree with that too. There's only if you're the coach at a place like Kentucky, he's been here since what year? He's probably been here 10 years already. 10, 15.
No, it's his year 12.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a little bit more than 10.
I think.
That's a long time, fellas. Like we were 12 years ago. What were we? Yeah, we were in high school still. Juniors, seniors in high school, something like that. So, like, that's quite a bit. That's quite a long time to be in a certain place, especially like Kentucky, where you're under a microscope constantly. About like we keep saying, the craziest fan base in the world, and having to deal with those expectations and deliver without being heckled and abused verbally, and have everybody knows where you live. Like they drive by your house all the time just to see your house. Things like that, they're hard to do for long periods of time, and he's done it. But like you said, Dave, it might be a while.
Well, and he's deserved that though.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody can say that he hasn't taken Kentucky back to the heights that were expected. Last couple of years hasn't been to that level, but 4 Final Fours, couple of national championship appearances, a national championship, that's pretty dang good in 12 years.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to ask Justin. Like, Justin, what do you expect year in and year out? What is a successful season to you?
I think when you look at it, I mean, he's just as good as you had in the 90s, right? Like him and Toby side by side, they both got their national title. They're kind of,
and Toby got
2A
pushed
and
out.
2B. Toby and Calipari, they're neck and neck.
Yeah. I just don't know of anybody else that could come in here and do what he's done. Other than like the obvious bigger names, but there's really no reason they would leave their schools to come here and do kind of the exact same thing. Unless it's just to be a part of the history, which I could see that being an issue for one of the younger ones. But I think the next coach of Kentucky has to be somebody who has established a scheme, an original sort of, culture that they built elsewhere. Yeah, Final Fours. Final Fours are great, but we have the most Final Fours since Calipari's been here. Nobody has more Final Fours than Coach Cal in his time period. So he's done that job. Could we have had a few more? Absolutely. But Duke, Carolina, Kansas they've not been to as many Final Fours as Coach Cal has since he's been in Kentucky.
Kansas hadn't?
No.
Kansas might have.
Do you know what I was looking at?
I'm pretty sure we have. He's been to 4.
We were
Kansas,
talking about that.
Kansas makes Final Fours, but they've won the national championship. I mean, that kind of over trumps getting to a Final Four, obviously.
Boeheim usually gets thrown in with that other group. Coaches you were just talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I think we're too high on Boeheim. I think it's just been longevity. I was looking at like his career.
We looked at it. We looked at all of their careers when we did that coaches draft a long time ago.
You take Carmelo Anthony out. He's been in 2 Final Fours with no titles. And Carmelo Anthony was one of the greatest college basketball players of all time in his one season.
Dude was different.
He won that title. Outside of that, Boeheim hasn't done much. That's all I had on that. Just a random shot at Jim Boeheim for some reason. But
so this is what Justin wants every year. He wants to grow close to the players, Missed the days of Patrick Patterson type players, and that is long gone. You are correct at that. But here's the thing. It's not Kentucky basketball's fault. Those players don't hang around. Like if a Patrick Patterson was coming into college today, he's getting drafted this time next year. So if he's getting drafted, he's not staying. You'll have a couple of multi-year guys, and Kentucky does currently have. Sheboy is one of those guys. Sheboy's not getting drafted, fellas. Just letting you know, he's not going to play along. He may never make it to the NBA. There's a reason he's still here. Those guys don't come around very often anymore. College basketball is changing. It's not just Kentucky basketball. It's everywhere.
Well, we're going to have the rule change. I believe it's next year where kids can go straight into the draft out of high school. So I actually really hope
that should have always been the issue.
Right. And I hope that kind of changes the evolution of it.
Yeah.
If you got the kids that really just want to go get a paycheck, go to the G League, go to the league if you're good enough, or else stick around for 2-3 years, create a brand. You said it, Sheboy, if he gets drafted, it's going to be late second round. He'll probably float around the G League for a couple of years. He might crack the NBA at some point, but he's making his money now.
Yep.
Through NIL deals. I think that's going to be a more profitable revenue source for some kids after, they decide to, when the new rule goes into effect.
Another thing you think about too is a lot of players that are great college players, they don't translate to the NBA. Let's think about this. Other than last year with, Sheboy was a National Player of the Year. You would think best college basketball player as a junior in college should be a high round draft pick, a high pick, lottery pick. It's not the case. Think a couple years ago, who was Player of the Year? Luka Garza, Iowa.
Yeah.
Anybody tell me what NBA team Luka Garza is playing for right now?
I want to say the Clippers.
He ain't.
But
he's in the G League.
Sharks.
He's in the G League. That's where he's at. Played in the Rising Stars game, but he's not in the NBA. But he was a senior coming out of college, Naismith Player of the Year, and you have that all over the place.
He's playing for an Iowa G League team.
Yeah,
that sounds like a ticket move. I don't even know if that's a talent play.
Another guy, Drew Timme. Okay, Drew Timme is not going to play in the NBA.
I think
if he does, it's for a short period.
Out of those three, Timme has the best skill set.
I agree with that. I would agree with that. He could do a lot more things totally.
He's also probably 26 and is the same age as some of the assistant coaches going into the league.
Exactly.
Half the league is retired.
That's where that doesn't happen anymore. The game doesn't. I don't want to say just the game. The whole system in place right now for college basketball doesn't allow that one-on-one connection. Like the kids are here, then they're gone. You're lucky to keep the best ones, the ones that you can fall in love with. To keep them for more than 2 years is very difficult because they're gone.
Mm-hmm. What coach would you be happy with in the college landscape right now?
Before we answer that, Justin says, Cal's whole recruiting process is banking on the chance to go to the NBA after 1 year. Yes. That has been true. Yes. He wants a guy that wants to build a team that will win a championship. All right, Justin, go look through the internet and tell me when's the last championship that was won in college that didn't have a one and done NBA player on it. You would be hard pressed to find one that didn't have a star freshman or multiple star freshmen. Who won last year? North Carolina?
Kansas.
Here.
Oh, Kansas, yeah. Did Kansas have a one and done guy?
I don't think so.
I'm trying to find a roster. I don't think they did, Frank.
Their star was a fifth year.
Ochai.
But he only played for them for 1 year. Didn't he?
No. He was there.
I thought he was hurt.
Years.
I thought he was hurt the year before.
I think he was homegrown.
Or transferred. I could be wrong.
I honestly don't know if anybody has won with a one and done freshman since Maybe Bayham.
2015.
Who's that?
Duke's had a couple.
Duke was one in 2015. I don't know who's on that team. That's the thing. I can't remember back to what year these kids were playing.
Right.
My
argument is every
Carolina
team
didn't have one in 17.
If you told any coach they could have the top 3 players in each class, they'd be dumb if they wouldn't take that. So
yeah,
I don't understand why people get mad at Calipari trying to do that. Like you could go to Coach K and be like, hey Coach K, we're going to give you the top 3 high school players in the country. Do you want them? He's going to say abso-freaking-lutely. He's not going to say no. I mean, do you want Cal to go recruit the 3-star guys from Lexington?
Nah, I'm good.
Hang out? No, he's not. If they're good enough, yeah, he will. But he's going to go try to recruit the best players. The same thing in football. The best players leave after 3 years because that's when they can leave. They are allowed to leave after 1 year of college. So that's when they're going to leave. If you make the rule different to where, they either go after high school or stay 2 years, they'll leave after 2. It's not his fault. That's the rule. But you're dumb if you think whatever coach we get is not going to try to get the best players, regardless of how long they're going to stay.
The only coach I would be happy with is Scott Drew's the only one that comes to mind.
Oh, to replace the current coach?
Yeah. He's the only one I think. He's 52, but I think he's still got a decade.
He's young in coaching years. That's pretty young.
I mean, nobody just jumps off the map at me outside of him.
I mean, Oates, but he's
under some fire right now.
Yeah, I don't think we want to touch him right now.
No, I'm not touching that with the 10 football.
Musselman, I think he's.
I don't think there's any active. There's no active guys that I think I would want. Mine would probably Jay Wright or Brad Stevens. They're not active, and that would be a no-no. Mark Few ain't leaving. Leanne. He's been at Gonzaga for, 25 years now?
Yeah, I think.
He's got it made up there. He ain't leaving. Not even for Kentucky.
Hey, what if we brought back Pitino?
I think a lot of people would like that, honestly. But you know what Pitino would do? He'd recruit the best players he could and try to get them to Kentucky.
Yeah.
Whether or not they leave after 1 year or not. Some people would like Pitino, and then some people would not like Pitino. Leanne is one that did not like Pitino. But I don't know. I think Pitino's too old. He's kind of like in the same boat as John Calipari. He wouldn't be able to navigate the college game anymore the way it is, the way the rules are, the way the NIL deals worked. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if he was the coach of Louisville, if they had NIL deals?
Oh.
If NIL was a thing in Louisville during the Katina Powell times, that stuff would be legal. Like, he wouldn't have got anything wrong. Like, I don't know.
I will say
I disagree with that.
There would be some fire commercials from
it'd be
those
awesome.
Louisville guys. I don't want to say what's going through my head right now, but those would be hilarious.
You're talking about them standing outside of Churchill Downs, outside the Louisville Slugger Museum, those types of things, right, Dave?
Yep. That's where my head went.
Oh yeah, man, that's awesome.
Good, wholesome establishments.
Let's pivot to NFL.
I'm loving it. Go ahead.
Quarterbacks, go.
Top? Are we ranking them?
Just what's going on? What's the
Lamar's gonna be a Mander, boys. I feel it in my bones.
Well, you got
I feel it. I feel it.
Dave, speaking of Manders, how do you feel about the new offensive coordinator?
Greg and I were talking about that yesterday.
Josh, a little late on that one, buddy, but that's funny.
Yep. He's a little late. He went there.
NIL does not stand for next in line, fellas.
Wow.
So Dad and I were talking about Eric Bieniemy yesterday. We're both very, room temperature on the whole thing.
That's a
he
good way to
had
put it.
He had to make a move. You know, I don't think there's a guy more deserving of a head coaching job than Eric Bieniemy, but clearly there's something there that have made teams balk. I mean, the Eagles OC just got the Cardinals, head coaching gig, and it's like Eric Bieniemy just lost Tyreek Hill and they still went and won a Super Bowl. And it'll always be, well, he had Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So
LaShawn McCoy is a little crazy.
A little.
He says a lot of stuff.
The dude, since he retired, is not afraid to say anything.
Right, but did you see his comments? He was in that locker room, right? He played 1 year with Kansas City towards the end.
Yeah.
Maybe last year even he was on that team. But he talked about Bieniemy. He was like, great dude. He was like, but he's not running the offense. The offensive coordinator is just a title. He has zero involvement in the pass game. He doesn't call the plays. Like, he's basically a formations and running back coach. Like, he doesn't scheme the passing game. He doesn't call it. Reed makes the decisions.
That's kind of why he's get out there, so he can prove to people that he could do it.
Oh,
right. 100%. I think that's what was holding him back. And if that's what's coming from players in the locker room, and I know that you got to take everything he says with a grain of salt because he has been wild since he got out of the league.
He on the Antonio Brown diet.
If that's what he's, having to say he does in these job interviews, then I kind of understand it way more now looking at that, because those titles vary so much from team to team.
Yeah.
You have some head coaches that don't call anything and they're still, getting all the credit when it's really the OC or the DC that's the reason for the team's success.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's a secret. I don't think that would be a big secret amongst the NFL trees of coaching. Like, they understand that. Us casual fans don't really understand that. We just assume offensive coordinator calls plays, defensive coordinator hangs out with defenses, head coach just sits there on the microphone and just gives, you can tell the ones that are highly involved in the play calling. Obviously, Andy Reid is highly involved. Guys like Mike McDaniel is highly involved. A couple other ones come to mind, like Shanahan and those types of guys. Like, they have a hand in everything. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that move is good for him. I would think it would improve if he's the guy that everybody thinks he should be. Then it will help the Commanders as long as there's a lot of things that could fall in line with him.
Right. And I mean, let's just be real here. The Commanders is a pretty safe job.
Low expectations.
Riverboat Ron's probably on the hot seat this year. The Eagles and the Cowboys are heads and shoulders above them. Oh. So, like, if they just make the playoffs, Bieniemy's got a head coaching job secured. So it's a safe bet.
I'm hung up, Dave. I'm sorry. I don't know the origin of the nickname, but that can't be accepted by all indigenous peoples.
Riverboat Ron?
Yeah. What's that come from?
It's because he used to go for it on fourth down a lot.
It's a gambling term.
Yeah.
Gambling, there's boats on the river.
That's his nickname.
They're gambling boats.
Mm-hmm.
Coop's thinking of Native American / Hispanic natives riding a canoe down the river. That's what Coop's thinking of.
Or, casinos. Like, I'm going all over the place.
Oh, I didn't think about that. That makes sense.
Wikipedia, nickname, Riverboat Ron.
Yep, I can absolutely read that backwards.
Oh, but yeah, so back to the quarterback. We're got about 10 minutes left. A lot of quarterback storylines we got going on here, okay?
I wouldn't even share it.
I'm not. Josh, did you copy and paste from Dave's screen just now? Because it looks like it's backwards. Grammarly, download it. Yeah, so like the Aaron Rodgers saga, is Russell Wilson going to be any better? Also, you have 3, maybe more than that, quarterbacks in the draft that are going to make headlines. Most of them are going to go to teams and expect to be starters right away.
Now he's driving in Boston. I'm in a car.
Jesus Christ. Anyway. Sunday night for Spencer. That's what that is. That's go to bed. Go to bed, Josh. It's past your bedtime, buddy. But yeah, the Aaron Rodgers thing. Where's he going to be? Where's he going to end up? But anyway, there's a lot of things happening, man. I think everybody's kind of looking at Lamar Jackson, seeing what happens there. Justin
Rodgers
says,
is
"Look,
the
man,
first.
takes 2 weeks off, then quits." He's already out of his little darkness thing, isn't he?
Yeah, he's out.
He came out of that. I like Aaron Rodgers. I really do. I think you get if you watch every Tuesday on Pat McAfee, you kind of get a little bit of his personality, and you can see that he's a weird dude. Don't get me wrong, but like he's just like us. Like he cares about certain things more than others. But there's not really anybody that's going to tell him what he can and can't do, and that's kind of the way he lives his life. And whether or not you're a NFL team owner or a coach or whoever it is, he's going to do whatever he wants, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. I think more people need to live that way. He don't care. He does what he wants.
He's definitely the first domino to fall. I don't think there's any quarterback movement until he says what's happening.
I think it's him, and then people are trying to go after Lamar after him. And then David Carr's next.
Lamar, I don't think Lamar's in the same boat. Carr's free agent. Rodgers, if he says he's out, he's tradable. I don't know that Lamar is. Lamar has so much power in that situation because if they tag him, there's one of two types of tags. There's the exclusive and the non-exclusive. Non-exclusive, other teams can offer him contracts and treat him like a free agent. Exclusive, I believe he can be traded. That's what happened with Watson, right? He was traded on the franchise tag.
Yeah.
But there's just so much going on there, and Lamar seems totally support what he's doing, trying to get his money, but he seems very stubborn. And I don't know if Lamar knows where he wants to go. Like they can try to trade him, and he says
and that's
no.
That's why you're not seeing anything happen like right now with David Carr signing with somebody, because somebody like the Jets, they would sign David Carr in a heartbheat, but there's still like that.
It's Derek Frank.
Derek Carr, whatever. His brother's name's David. They both sucked. But anyway,
whoa.
I don't know about that. But
no, Derek's better. But like you have the Jets just hanging around waiting to make a move. We know they're going to make a move. We just don't know who it's going to be. There's a 5% chance hope that Rodgers says, "Hey, I want to come play in New York," and they're going to be like, "Oh, we got Aaron Rodgers," and then they win the Super Bowl with the team they have because they're good. They're just missing a quarterback. And then Carr is like their backup plan. Like he's still there. He's just hanging out. He's not Aaron Rodgers, but he could help us get to the playoffs. He's been to the playoffs. We're going to give him a better team than what he had in Vegas. Other than that, they're better. Don't make that face.
The Jets, yeah, for sure.
Defensively, yeah, but offensively
they're better. They're going to be better.
Devontae Adams and what's his name? Josh Jacobs was a top 3 running back.
But they were better without
offensive line.
They were better without Devontae Adams.
That could be. But I'm just saying, playmakers around them, it's kind of hard to.
I mean, there's not many people better. You can count on 2 fingers people that might be better than Devontae Adams right now.
Yeah,
and Josh Jacobs is top 10. But you have a young core of a great fan of, let's say, an excited fan base, very passionate about their team. Who has, you win a few games, then you're going to have everything you need. You know what I'm saying? So, and a very good coach too. Like people love Saleh. So
yeah, I think the Jets have everything a quarterback's looking for right now. They do have exciting weapons. They may not be Devontae Adams. I get that.
They're young too, but
Garrett Wilson's looks really good.
They're future all pros.
Elijah Moore, I think, still got more to give.
Brees Hall.
But they have a good offensive line and a defense that can support you. And I think that's what a quarterback really wants, especially those two who have played with bad defenses and little, I don't want to say supporting cast, but it doesn't seem like the organization was doing what they could to put that quarterback in a position for success.
Yeah.
Josh asked the question, will Cincinnati cut Mixon this offseason? The answer to that question is yes, they will. Leanne says no. I think they will because there's plenty of – we have decent picks in the draft. There's good running backs coming into the draft. And Samaj J.P. Ryan is still on the roster. I think Mixon is a great running back. Like Josh said, no production. I don't think that's going to be happening every year. He might go to another team and just ball out. But he had games where he showed promise. But with, the way the contracts are working out, they're getting ready to have to pay Joe Burrow some insane amount of money. And they're going to have to shell out just as much for Jamar Chase. And they need to, in order to be competitive, to keep one of either T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd. You're not keeping them both. One of those two will not be on the roster in the very near future. I want to say it's Higgins. He's going to go elsewhere and be a number one. I hope I'm wrong. Tyler Boyd is, a great dude, but I'd trade Higgins in a heartbeat. I'd take Higgins in a heartbeat over him. I don't think anybody would bat an eye at that one.
Yeah,
but they need money in the offensive line as well. Still, we still know that. But they're going to try to save money. Bates is gone. A lot of that defense is going to be gone. They're free agents. We're going to have to rebuild through the draft.
I think that the running back market is going to be a lot more affordable than people think because of what Aaron Jones did. He took a $5 million pay cut to stay with the Packers.
And the free agents are ridiculous right now. They're going to be ridiculous.
Right, but Aaron Jones is
and
top 5.
Jacobs. Yeah,
I mean, I would put Jones over Jacobs.
Yeah, right now, for sure.
For who I want on my team, Saquon. Yeah, I take Saquon. I take McCaffrey.
Yeah, but they're not taking pay cut. Those guys aren't taking pay cut.
Eckler's up there, but I'm saying he's probably a top 5 back or close to it. And for him to take a $5 million pay cut, $11 million on the year, like that's going to completely change the landscape of what running backs are going to get paid. Zeke, that terrible deal just got so much worse.
Yeah,
with that contract restructuring. And
Tony Pollard is going to be a free agent too. I'd say he goes somewhere and be a number one. That's a kind of guy that could make the Bengals to the next level. He's a different dude.
But I think that's the issue though, is go look at that Bengals Chiefs game. We talked about it when we previewed it, and I think I said it. Whoever ran better that game was going to win the game. And what did both teams end up doing? Throwing 50 times. The teams that make it farthest, even the Eagles were the most run-happy team in the league. And then they get to the Super Bowl and they only run the ball 20 times. Like, I think the running back market, like Coop said, it's going to be extremely tight unless it is, CMC.
Unless you can catch it out of the backfield.
But I think Tony Pollard, he's a dude, but I don't know if he gets that top dollar bag because
off a broke leg as well.
Yeah, I just think that it's a bad time to be a running back right now because they're a dime a dozen.
Yeah,
and there's depth coming out in this draft.
There's a new Isaiah Pacheco coming every year. Somebody is just they just got to be found and land on.
Might have a new Saquon Barkley coming out this year. I mean,
Bijan or Robinson. Yeah, that's the kind of things that can happen on a yearly basis. We all know running back is the position in the NFL that has the least shelf life. I think it's less than 5 years on the amount of time they stay on average. Or not that they don't want to stay any longer. They physically can't, or the teams get rid of them or release them and they just never land anywhere else because there's always something new coming through. New, young, faster, stronger, more weapons.
For most of them, it's a rookie contract and a veteran minimum. For most running backs.
And the offenses are being schemed more toward pass catching running backs now because that's what people have found success with. You don't get the Eagles were a hard-nosed downhill run type of team. It doesn't come around very often. You look at how the Chiefs were built. The Chiefs were built on speed. They started Clyde Edwards-Helaire for a little while, but quickly throughout the season we saw that they were making the switch to Pacheco and McKinnon full time. And what do those guys do? They catch it out of the backfield and they run fast. So that's what helps them win games.
CEH got hurt, so that's what put him behind. I actually saw today that the Chiefs aren't exercising his 5th-year option this year. So I had a question for you all. Do we see the LSU reunion in the Bengals? Do we see him go be with Jamar Chase and Joe B?
I wouldn't hate that at all.
Price is right.
I think
it's going to be low. So
that's what I'm saying. Like, you could get him cheaper than what you're going to have to pay Mixon. And then you offload that contract and help pay Burrow and maybe, sign a Taylor Lewan, who just got released by the Titans. Shout out to our Bussin' with the Boys group. He's on the podcast today. I think it was there today or yesterday. And they asked him, who would you like to play for? And he's like, you know what? I think the boys up in Cincinnati need a left tackle. And it's like, come bring it on down, dude. I mean, he's an all-pro. He's got a lot of other issues as well. I mean, he's not been playing great. That's why they cut him. Like, he's getting older. He's been in the league for 7 or 8 years, and injury problems have been his problem. So, but that's the kind of move you can make to help improve your team, because you have that leadership, and you've got a couple of guys in the interior of that offensive line that have been around the block a few times. But Taylor Lewan can be another veteran that you add. You know, veteran leadership on the offensive line is more important a lot of the times than just sheer talent, because you can get by on less talent and more experience a lot of the times, just because you've been around the block, you've seen things. So I wouldn't hate that move. I wouldn't hate the Clyde Edwards-Helaire move either, but I do not see Mixon being on the Cincinnati Bengals roster for very much longer.
Speaking of running backs, how about Melvin Gordon getting a Super Bowl ring?
Good for
Good
him.
for him.
We love a good story. Good for him.
How did that happen? I don't even think he had a rushing attempt for him.
No.
Not the practice squad.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, guys like him and Todd Gurley coming out of college are like, oh, yeah, they're good. They're good for a couple of years in the NFL, and then they're just gone. Like, they vanish.
Yeah, it's a quick decline. It happens very fast.
There's a few that stay around. Like, Derrick Henry's going to stay around a while, and Christian McCaffrey, with his injuries, he's going to stay around a while. But, like, you think about – I can't think of a couple other ones that just – they're here and then they're gone. But, like, you know, Chris Johnson back in the day from, you know, he wasn't in the league for very long.
CJ2K.
One of the greatest ones of all time.
Ricky Williams.
Yeah. He did that himself, though.
Ah.
Yeah.
There was a conspiracy.
Justin had Ricky Williams comment on there.
Time.
Yeah.
Dude was good, though.
All right, fellas. Thing I got, Mac
ahead,
McClung,
Coop.
man. Shout out. Mac McClung. He set a new record. He's the slam dunk champion, has played in the fewest amount of NBA games. Previously, that record was held by Kobe Bryant. He had played 38 games in the NBA at the time of him winning. Mac McClung has played in 2.
Yeah. Here's my opinion on the slam dunk contest. First of all, it sucks because you have to have people like Mac McClung, who is a very good dunker, who would probably beat a lot of people.
He was
you have to go get people like that in order for it to be entertaining, because nobody wants to do it. Here's how you switch that up. Number 1, make the prize bigger. Number 2, you go to these. There's dunk leagues. There's literally people who put on shows for this reason. Go out to them, partner with them, do the slam dunk competition, and don't say it's the NBA slam dunk competition. Just say it's NBA All-Star Weekend slam dunk competition, and let those guys put on a show. Pay them a certain amount of money, let them put on a show. It doesn't even have to be NBA players. People would watch that. Nobody watches it now. The All-Star game sucks. It's me and you and Dave could go in there and participate in that All-Star game and look like we belong. They're not even running up and down the court. It's a waste of time. They're not going to play. Just like the Pro Bowl. It's worse than the Pro Bowl, in my opinion. But let some entertainers come in that actually do that for a living.
We're in a prima donna league, and that's the problem. Nobody wants to not be the best. LeBron never competed in the dunk contest because LeBron didn't want to lose a dunk contest. Nobody tries in the All-Star game because they don't want to get bested by another player. And I really think that's what it is. Probably. I don't think it has to do with injuries. Facing off Jason Tatum. I don't think LeBron wanted to look like he wasn't as good as Jason Tatum. Like, that's why the effort's low. They're not going to go one-on-one. They're not going to show you everything they got because he doesn't want to get embarrassed. And maybe he doesn't get embarrassed. Maybe he's better. Maybe he wins 5 dunk contests. I don't know. But maybe he loses the first one, and it's like, oh, his confidence is gone. I think that's what it is.
I just think there's so many different avenues you can take it to make it interesting for the viewer. If that's what your goal is, that's why you put it on to begin with. You know, the stars go out in the 3-point competition and they do it. Like, you have the top shooters in the league. Why not take why do the top dunkers not want to go do it? Like, obviously they could do it, but they're not going to. So go get these guys from the dunk league that they have on YouTube who do some insanely crazy stuff. Put them on a big stage. Let them show you what they can do and entertain people. Pay them $10,000, $15,000 to participate and just have at it. Put on a show. Make it last an hour. People would love that. The NBA players would love it. And you just have to call it something different. That's my opinion. But anyway, we're going to hop off here for the night. You guys, I hope you had a great weekend. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so right now. As always, Trifecta Sports Podcast, Frank, Coop, and Dave. You guys have a great weekend. Here's something I didn't do before. We should do now.